What's going on, guys? I'm Mac, and welcome back to One More Minute, the show where each day I get 1 more minute to talk about whatever I want. And yes, we're back at the desk, boys. We're back at it again. In today's video, I have a very interesting topic. With the looming ban of TikTok, it reminded me of something that is very prevalent in this day and age, and it is lost media. Yes, what happens to media if you have no physical copy? If the digital copy that you maybe might not have bought is no longer in sale, what happens to it? Where does it go? And so with the advent of TikTok being gone, where did all those videos go? So if you haven't already, please make sure to like and subscribe. You guys have been supporting the heck out of both channels recently. It's been awesome seeing the growth, and I've really been enjoying the support. Also, sorry about the growing pimple over the past few episodes. I've gotten rid of it in the thumbnails, but obviously we can't get rid of it in the middle of the video, so it kind of sucks too, because when I talk it it kind of messes with my speech, so that's super fun. Anyways, lost media. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is with the recent TikTok ban, we're gonna have a ridiculous amount of content gone, just completely gone. Now, will it be deleted? No. More than likely, either the TikTok ban gets temporarily put on hold for a little bit with the new presidency, or it gets completely removed or whatever. But more than likely, the wipe of the servers wouldn't happen for a while, and it wouldn't happen on day one, that's for sure. So it's not completely gone, but it's not accessible media. It's media that we know that exists out there, but there's no way to really get into it unless you use a VPN or a different account entirely in a different country. So, going further beyond that, let's talk about RWBY. Yes, RWBY. One of my favorite series of all time. A series that I own fully. I own all of the volumes except for volume 9 digitally, and then I own all of the volumes physically as well. Now, I've always been a pretty avid physical collector. I get it from my dad. He collects movies. I collect video games and movies. And so there's a plethora of tons of movies and stuff like that we have. Whether it be the collector's edition 4K version of Elf all the way to direct-to-DVD Ishtar movie. We have everything. But this was actually something that we didn't know we were accidentally preparing for, but the advent in the age of lost media. If it doesn't exist on a streaming platform, and it doesn't exist to be bought on Amazon, whether physical or digital, then it really doesn't exist. Because recently, stores like Best Buy even stopped selling physical or digital copies of their movies. Now, sometimes they sell digital copies, but mostly in person. If you try to go buy a digital copy of, let's say, the new Godzilla and Kong New Empire movie, oh jeez, I just something a bubble of snot. It sounds disgusting. I'm sorry. In my nose. That was the worst thing in the world. Oh my gosh. Ugh. Anyways, if you have a movie that comes out and there's no digital or physical version that's released post movie, it doesn't exist anymore. It's just gone. And while technically that's how movies used to be, which is the craziest thing to me, prior to The Wizard of Oz or whatever, imagine The Wizard of Oz comes out to the theaters, and then it's just gone. It's in a vault somewhere where they could come out again in 10, 20 years for an anniversary. But if you wanted to watch that again, you couldn't. Now, eventually The Wizard of Oz would be one of the first ever movies to be rerun on a television station. That would then lead to more movies being put on television stations and the advent of television being a place where you could rewatch movies and films. But that's how it was back in the day. And this goes even farther beyond to video games. Yes, video games can be lost media as well. Recently, there was the Lego Dimensions series, which is one of the coolest series in my opinion. It was on the tail end of the Toys to Life trend, and Toys to Life is Skylanders, Amiibos. What else? Was there any other big ones that I can't remember right now? Oh, Disney Infinity, stuff like that. And it was probably on that kind of last tail end of the waves of that, while Amiibo is probably the last standing Toys to Life series, it's more about the figures than it was like the actual usability of the figures. Um, Disney Lego Dimensions was very different. I wish I got more into it, but it just wasn't like my thing at the time. I didn't understand it. But there's so many cool figures in it. The fact that Lego Dimensions was really what would eventually become Fortnite in the way that it would just be the most insanely collaborative event ever. Like the fact you could have the three main characters being Gandalf, Batman, and Wildstyle from the Lego Movie, going and fighting the Wicked Witch of the West in the Wizard of Oz on like the first level, and then like the next level you could buy like the Simpsons or Sonic or the Ghostbusters and stuff like that. And recently there was actually a big leak talking about how much of that content was just never shared, or it was developed but the game was canceled. For instance, there was an entire huge own section of the game that was all Minecraft, which would have been the coolest thing in the world. Like that would have gotten me on. That's what's so annoying about a lot of these like either lost media or canceled games or movies, is that they were like that close to being some of the coolest content ever, but because of either previous mistakes by the developer or the corporate greed of the company, it just never happened. Like for instance, there was to replace what was going to be Star Wars Outlaws, there was a Star Wars Mandalorian themed game where you, or not Mandalorian, bounty hunter themed game. This is before the Mandalorian like took over everything, but there was a bounty hunter themed game, which would have been the coolest thing in the world to be a bounty hunter. Now, while Outlaws, you kind of are like kind of a bounty hunter, you're more of like a Han Solo scum type character, and yeah, I don't remember that game getting very good reviews, which is kind of a bummer. But like that would have been the coolest thing ever. And then speaking of games that were canceled after having so much potential. Jeez. I hate having this thing. It literally, I can feel my entire mouth right now. It's like I had like numbing cream in my mouth, and now I can feel everything again. But another game that had a ton of potential, but was canceled, was Star Wars Battlefront 2. Now, the initial launch of Star Wars Battlefront 2 is maybe one of the worst launches of all time. It would eventually be toppled by like any AAA title in the past like 5 or 6 years. But even after the whole loot box fiasco, where you can only gain like any sort of progress in the game by using loot boxes or spending hundreds, if not thousands, of hours trying to unlock one character in the game, if you didn't try to buy them, was the fact that they reworked the entire system to where you could just use your stuff to level up and grow as a character. And on top of that, they actually managed to make the system a lot of fun to grind through and play. The game modes were a lot of fun. They would eventually add Capital Supremacy, which would be one of the best things ever to come to the game. Growing the multiple eras, growing the Clone Wars era. And by the time it got canceled, while DICE/EA was pushing for the next Battlefield game, it was probably one of the best Star Wars games ever developed, in my opinion. It was an absolute masterpiece of both art and just how cool it was. I think that just the cool factor of being able to play Obi-Wan Kenobi and be able to lead your clone troopers, your fellow friends, and your random bots to go take over a supremacy ship it's just one of the coolest things ever. And the fact that they canceled it, with people knowing that there's more in development, like Ahsoka and Ventress and stuff like that, and also Disney was a huge part of it, if I'm being honest. I know at that point they were kind of getting in the way of the development, so there became more and more red tape for them to kind of wade through as the new Disney Plus series were coming out. I know The Mandalorian had to come out, the Ahsoka series had been announced and stuff like that. And at that point, it probably became just too much effort for what it was worth, and they just had to cut their losses. Now, in hindsight's 2020. At the time, we all went, "This is a terrible idea. Why would you cancel a game when it's at its peak?" And they even kept post it being canceled. It actually grew even more after the cancelment, and it was just huge. And yeah, hindsight's very much 2020 because we were all like, this is a terrible idea. Also, I don't know if Battlefield 2042 is going to be very good, so what's the point? And yeah, we were right. Yeah. Actually, hindsight was actually correct. We were 100% correct. 2042 ended up becoming one of the worst now DICE launches, which would lead to the entire company, I believe, being reworked to some extent, people being fired, EA having to go through their own thing, them having to announce that they're completely bringing Battlefield all the way to ground zero and rebuilding the entire franchise after a horrendous game that came out with Battlefield 2042. Yeah, it kind of just sucked that they managed to cancel a game and then ruin another series. And then they've done it again. Battlefield 2042 is in a playable state. I wouldn't say that it's at the same level as Battlefront 2, in my opinion. But, like, you can't be doing this. Now, hopefully, there has been a change in how people deal with this whole loss of media thing. I know there's been large archives digitally that have been trying to collect information. I know colleges, weirdly enough, have been doing this. For instance, let's say I wanted to watch a movie or something that I didn't have access to. A lot of the times, my college actually has an archive that you can go and watch. And while it's not like piracy, it's not like somewhere I can go and like watch movies anytime I want, just because I can. It's technically a form of preservation of media, so it doesn't become lost media. So, yeah, it's interesting that there is institutions in place that do want to maintain and collect media whenever it's possible, and the public's also doing that too. But as we head and lean towards the fact that on Steam, we don't own any of our games, if we're being honest. If it were to close down today, it's gone. It's the same way with TikTok. If it were to close down today, we don't have access to our TikToks. We don't have access to the TikTok coin that we might have collected through doing live streams. We don't have the payouts for that sort of stuff. We don't have access to our content because it was never physically real. And in a digital world, that's just kind of how it works. You really don't get to own anything, which kind of is a not great thing. But yeah, in a fully digital world, we don't own a single piece of media unless you physically own it. And then at that point, I'm surprised that companies haven't been just dealing out discs instead of having discs, just having the little download code that already is in there and be like, well, the download code here, that's perfectly fine for them. Because if it just so happens that they can't use it anymore, what are they going to do? Not watch it? They're going to then go and rent it if they really want to watch it. They're going to go buy it again if they really want to watch it. So let's just hope they don't go full corporate greed and do us over like that, but we'll see. So then, when it comes to lost media, yeah, the three major things are obviously user-made content, movie content, as well as gaming content as well. I think also TV shows. I'm not entirely sure what. I know what falls under. TV shows pilots. TV show pilots are a gold mine for lost media because who the heck is saving these? Unless you are, and a lot of the time, these companies actually don't post the pilots on the rest of the episodes. So I'm not sure. I know like ABC and stuff like that. For instance, there was a show that I was on that had a pilot and I think a full season 1 that doesn't exist anymore. It was like this alien show where like this family. I forgot to turn off notifications if somebody's sending me messages on Instagram. It was like this alien show where like this family from like Mars came in like or like almost like foreign exchange students or whatever, and I was like I was like a background character for like a few episodes, including the pilot. And so I'm 90% sure that doesn't exist anymore. I think it was an ABC show, I think, but like it's just gone. And even then, like even if season 1 was there, there's no way the pilot even exists. So it's a weird thing to know that somebody's art, somebody's livelihood can just not exist in a space where, like, I mean, this water bottle is real. Like, I own this water bottle as long as it exists within my own perception, then it exists. I can consume the water bottle. At that point, it's just a bottle. It's no longer a water bottle. It's a lot of weird stuff. I'm not going to get too into the weeds of, like, living and stuff like that. I could go that far and deep, but that's not this video. Also, a couple other thoughts about the TikTok ban. I mentioned that yesterday. Also, somebody in the comments said just thank you. I guess welcome. I don't know. But another thing I wanted to mention about it is, I don't know if I mentioned this fully in the video, but the fact that we could be seeing a scenario where the next presidency is like, hey, I really want to investigate this on my own, but I need it to be up for me to investigate it. So we're going to actually not enforce the ban for the next 90 days or 270 days or whatever. I know it sits in that gray legality zone, which means that companies kind of have to take a risk in being like, well, if I trust this president and if it doesn't go well, I will have to pay, I don't know, billions of dollars in fines. I'm not exaggerating, by the way. Each person that would potentially use the app is $5,000. So it's 5,000 times 170 million users. Wait, that, oh my gosh. My mind went, that's not a billion. Yeah, it is. That's definitely a billion. So, it'd be a lot of money. So, we could be seeing that as a possibility where TikTok is temporarily unbanned, or we have a small TikTok renaissance for like another like a couple months or whatever. But as I think more and more each day about the TikTok ban, I think it's gone. I think it'll go away. It'll come back for a little bit. But I think it's over, guys. We need to evacuate the TikToks. So there needs to be some type of app or something that can completely like be like almost like a storage for TikTok. Like if ByteDance could like provide some type of huge storage device where like you could go and just watch like a huge archive of TikToks, because I really don't feel like doing the Vine thing where I have to go through and look at Vine compilations and that'd be the only way I can watch Vines for the next years. I don't want to have to do that with TikTok. So yeah, with that, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you like and subscribe, all that sort of stuff. And I'll see you in the next one. Also, yes, I'm drinking Dasani. We're